A slight improvement. Good.
Well, let's get this kicked off. So, many of you I have met already, and there's quite a few here that I haven't met. I've passed through the hallways, but today I just wanted to take an opportunity to introduce myself, share a little bit about myself, why I'm here, what I hope to accomplish, some goals, some objectives, some expectations, and really also to make myself available for fielding any questions. Maybe some here, some we can take out of here, if, depending on how much time we have. I don't expect to take the whole hour. I want to leave a little room for Q&A. So that's really the agenda for today. So first, my name is Stephen Chen, and I come to you all from Florida, Central Florida area. And my background is health information, IT. I have a number of years in that, 15 plus years. But yeah, I've been in other industries as well. And I think most notably is the space center. And so for me, I spent a long time in Central Florida, graduated from University of Central Florida. So coming to South Carolina has definitely been changing. I have to say that it's been exciting. I love this area when I've seen them already. I love the people. It's a great atmosphere. It's a great environment. And I'm very excited to be here. My wife, who's not here yet, also is very excited. And is in the process of getting packed up and getting our house ready for sale. So, but she looks forward to joining me soon here in Greenville. So, what I want to touch on is the reasons why I came here. And the fact is, there are numerous reasons, but I hope that what I saw from afar is the same things that you folks see here as opportunities, and why you should feel very fortunate to be here with GHS. So, first of all, this is a growing healthcare organization. So if you look at your footprint, and you look at the strategic intent of the organization, or our organization, it is to grow. It is to really spread your influence with this organization, what it can do. It's in this referral region, in this community. And so that's very exciting. And not all healthcare organizations are growing, certainly at this point. So, another key factor that we all can be really happy about is the academic affiliation. So, this is going to bring another facet to our area of responsibility, our area of opportunity, and they come with their set of challenges working with academic institutions. I've been, in other companies, I have worked with academic institutions or academically affiliated healthcare organizations. And they seem always to be all over the board, but they're always very progressive and the best organizations and most successful organizations. So this is really, I think, the infancy of what will start to be something that will flourish and something very, very good for this community. And being at the ground level for that, I think, should be exciting for everybody. Certainly one reason that I was attracted here. I'm also using my Windows 8 laptop, tablet, convertible, so this is I'll be able to productively use this. There's been a commitment. There's been a commitment to the IT leadership here and to the executive leadership team. And so that also was a key component. the folks are in their strategy for going and approaching the market, growing the acute care hospitals, growing the ambulatory setting, again, is a key to success and the opportunities that each one of us here will have. Ultimately, this is also an opportunity for me to grow. I'm coming from my last position, which was really on the other side of the fence, on the vendor space, where I've spent most of my career on the provider side. And I can tell you that there's a reason why healthcare is one of the most gratifying careers that you could have. And it's true. Because if you, and I hope you all realize this, but the things that we do and the mission that we have really makes a difference within the community here. And this is this is sort of a smaller type community here, so I can only imagine that most of you folks here have been here for quite a while. You know someone, a friend, a family member, a friend of a friend, that at any point in time is in the system in the hospital. So what we do is very important. Right? We make a difference, and I can tell you that when I first joined, when I first got into healthcare, we were working on projects, something as early as the PACS system, right? Medical imaging. Of course, we did this a long time ago. But when we first delivered that, we delivered a capability where you can have clinical view of your images across the internet. So this is very cool, right? And there was not a well-known story of this family that was in our community, and they had a son who had an accident that was in the hospital. And it turned out that it was really catastrophic for this individual. And the physician that was taking care of that family, he had the opportunity to go visit this family within their home rather than in the hospital setting. And he took the time really to bring his laptop, bring up the image, and explain to them in a very personal way what the situation was and how to explain to them in a very private setting that their son was essentially gone. And this the key that the technology that we had delivered about a year prior to that incident was just very moving to me. So the fact that the technology we do, we work on. I mean, if you look around, it makes a difference. It makes a difference every day. But to really bring it home, you have these instances where you just really come to realize how much of a difference you can make in the community around you. And the fact is that's what keeps people in healthcare going, because quite frankly, most people in healthcare, it's not the money. Right? It's really the gratification of what you do for your community. And unless you're a doctor or a nurse, you don't really get that directly, right? But that's in fact, what we all should be feeling here. And to be honest with you, I feel privileged to be able to continue to do this type of work. And we all should feel that way. And if we don't realize that, we should really take the time to figure out why that's the case. Because what you do really does improve the quality of service for the community, improve the quality of care, help mitigate patient safety issues. We work on that stuff probably every day, right? So that certainly is one key that as to why I'm here, why I've come over to the provider side from the vendor side. And I can tell you, it's about job satisfaction. It's about feeling better about yourself. So, and I hope that means something to you guys. And this is a very special time for healthcare. And This is you're really seeing a significant change in how healthcare is going to be provided. We're all very much in the middle of that now. So the government, right, is pushing everybody to go electronic medical records, right? They're pushing the counter care organizations. They're going to, they're forcing organizations like ours to become much more information rich, to the point where the government's going to feel good and comfortable about changing the whole reimbursement system, because they have the confidence that we're going to enable ourselves, and we're going to be able to exchange information with other healthcare organizations in such an effective way that they won't need the oversight that the government currently has on healthcare institutions today. I mean, that's going to be a huge change. 5 years from now, the way that we're conducting business, it's going to look very different than what we have today. So it's going to be a huge change. We're going to be part of that. We have to be able to position this organization to be successful. And I think we have all the ingredients. So, I'll do this. A little bit about myself. Has anybody ever taken the Strengths Finder, test? Ever hear of it? Okay. Well, it's a test that you take. It's a book. Comes with the book, and you take a kind of a survey, and it's not really that intuitive. I mean, you can't answer it to guide it to like most tests in this world, right? You make it come out the way you want it to come out. But this is what it came out for me. I guess what you don't see here is that there's about a couple dozen different attributes that you have. But through the test, okay, this is what my 5 strengths came out to be. So if you want to know a little bit about me, here it is. Focus, and you'll find a pet peeve of mine is going into meetings without clear and concise agendas and goals and outcomes. And already in the short time I've been here, I can tell you I've been in a few meetings that went nowhere. But among that, even that pet peeve there, overall, okay, I am very focused. I like to understand where the endpoint is and work backwards. Okay, so you'll perhaps see that over time. I'm a learner, so I think this has been key attribute. I love to learn things, especially in health IT, certainly outside of health IT. But I think that's what keeps us going, right? I think the general feeling that people here like to learn things, do things, like to keep moving forward. And that is part of the way you are successful. Ideation is one I didn't get, but yeah, again, I try to figure things out. I try to figure out relationships, cause and effect, connect the dots type of thing. Maximizer. Anybody read the book Good to Great? Well, I think we'll be reading that. So you guys can plan on that one. But the fact is I might be one to not try to bolster things that we don't do well, and focus on things that we do good and make them great. Okay. Now there's certain pros and cons to doing that, but that is a strategy that I've exercised over time. Had some amount of success with that. The last is responsibility. And I think it's a key one, especially if you're going to be on the management side. If you take ownership of something, you want to deliver on it and drive that through your team. And so that's something as well that's specific to me. Does that make sense? When I early on when I was interviewing for this position. I kind of referred to this, so I actually wanted to have a creative graph around it. But the key is we're going to deliver one of the most advanced integrated electronic medical records in the US. Right? We're headed that direction. And it's going to be key that we create a foundation in which we can support that endeavor for this organization. And, I mean, I get it, there's challenges, funding, resources, all the sorts, prior to coming here. But the fact is that this organization now has made a commitment at a whole nother level. Okay? And this has to support everything on top. Right? And there's a focus on this now. Just the fact that this organization has approved a CTO position. We want to shore this up. And I can tell you that there's many things we can do here to ensure success at layers above. Right? But this is us. This is us in the group. So, and then this is the information systems folks, the application folks. And really, the tip of the spear, as some people would say, is the caregivers who are providing the care to the patients. And I come from an organization that had the motto, if you're not taking care of a patient, then you're taking care of someone who is taking care of the patient, or you're supporting someone who's taking care of the patient. And that's where we are. We don't want to lose sight of that. So our focus is we're going to deliver and support this world-class integrated EHR to the organization as a team. We're going to have it serve this organization, its mission, this community in a way that it hasn't had before. And that's going to benefit, that'll be great benefits in this community. And then along with that, we have some technology objectives. These are at least a short list over time, over my few weeks here that I'm focusing on vetting with the assistance of Mark, Tim, the rest of the team here. And so, desktop standardization. I can tell you that's critically important to us, obviously. Rich Rogers knows this. He's put a fair amount of focus on it. And he's told me that we need to ensure that this gets done. So, although these may not be in a particular order, that one is on top for a reason. The other one next to it is very close to it. Server virtualization strategy. We'll talk more about this outside this meeting. But we need to be able to take virtual servers and support our requirements for server requirements in a way that is much more efficient than what we do today, even though we have some level of virtualization. The key for us is moving to and adopting another platform that is more widely accepted. But we need to take what perhaps is taking us 3-4 months to deliver, according to some project plans, and deliver in 30 minutes. Right? Because that's how long it takes to deliver once you have planned your resources out appropriately to support server requirements, especially the smaller ones for testing that. But this will make a dramatic difference in what we do and the level of effort that we put forward towards furnishing servers in the future. And we can take that time savings and direct it towards things that are much more challenging, things that we are going to need to be able to have time to focus those two, desktop standardization and virtualization strategy, really gets us to be nimble. Because when we take Epic, and I think it's mostly widely known now with Epic, or we're trying to go with Epic, you're going to see, it'll be like the Wild West, all these applications flowing out, right? We're going to be delivering, servers and databases and test environments, prod environments in the back end, and clients are going to be applications will be flying out. And these standard desktops are going to be able to do this in automated fashion. We need to be able to do it quickly, fastly, efficiently. Identity management and single sign-on. This is a key item that I probably don't know much about what we have here, although I know we have Imprivata, and it's implemented on some workstations. But this is an area of opportunity for us. And so, as a matter of fact, as early as this week, we'll be kind of huddling about that, getting a sense of, I'd like to get a sense of where we are, and then perhaps start strategizing how we can move forward. But this is a key item for anybody who's really trying to get clinical information in our system that's comparable to paper, right? Physicians used to have paper, nurse hands it to them, they got it all right there, right? It's flipping paper on a chart. This is how easy it has to be when you're on a computer. Well, not quite there yet. Role-based management. How many of you all have heard of role-based management, role-based access management? So the opportunity now is for us to be able to take the good work we've done with the standardized desktop and SCCM and be able to start automating how we push that out based on who you are. And so we have a strong implementation of Active Directory here. We have SCCM, 2012. It's not there yet. And now we're in a position to deliver role-based management. And so you get your rights, you get your resources, you get your printers, you get your applications based on who you are. We intelligently put you into a tree so these type of resources will be inherited on the way down. So I've seen this done, and it's maybe not that unique in other industries, and perhaps other healthcare organizations. We're running a little bit behind on this. We're doing a little extra work manually to compensate, so we need to catch up. This is an area of opportunity. Information security enhancements. This is also an area that is key for us. I focused on security in my last company, and I can tell you that the Office of Civil Rights, they are very focused on pushing healthcare to the next level. They're conducting audits in a way that is been unprecedented. It used to be that Health and Human Services would only conduct like half a dozen audits a year. They would go out and find someone to make them an example, so it hits the trade rags, right? Everybody can maybe live in fear for a week or so. But if you ever did the odds were you'll never get hit. If you did, you probably pick the way out. Now, they engage consultants. And now they're up to, as of last year, 150 per year. And so they are out and they are levying fines, and they are engaged, pushing our industry. So not only compliance, but also really the level of threat that's out there is unprecedented. What I can never resolve, to be honest with you, coming coming from healthcare into a large federal contractor, was that, this company that I worked for before was Harris Corporation, right? They got hacked about a year before I got there. I mean, it was pretty significant. So they spent millions of dollars to build up a cybersecurity center that would be an umbrella security, information security arm for over all divisions and the corporate center of the company. They were fighting, they have a team of security professionals that huddle every morning, and they go over all the hacks that they're battling, and it was not a small list. So here's 4 or 5 security experts doing this on a daily basis. And now you're thinking, well, what's healthcare doing? Because we have an organization that is quite large. Here we have one resource, right? Now, what happens to all those hacks that we're experiencing? Are they not happening? We just don't know about it, right? Well, the truth is probably somewhere in between. I was trying to talk our company into saying, well, if we're sure enough that you're being hacked based on your security resources, why don't we go in at no cost, and we'll find something, then we'll assess a charge if you're that sure that that's something in there. That wasn't a great strategy at the time, but again, what's hard for me to resolve is what's happening in other industries and what's happening in healthcare, and how do we best plan to mitigate these strategies, or mitigation strategies. So this is an important area. IDO best practices. We're in the infancy of doing this now, right? So we have a system, a tool that is that supports our IDO policies and procedures. I think we have read and are trying to look at best practices. We'll refine these for our organization as it goes along. There's some things I think we're doing now that are good. There's some things that we can improve. But we'll move forward on that. And that's key for us, because that's not only service now, that's also other technologies. It's also procedures and best practices that we have to follow. And once we start doing it, the end state is that we're doing a lot less work associated with mistakes. And if you really think about how much work you're doing, based on left hand not knowing what the right hand is doing, it's a lot. At least today, we're cutting into it better. Contingency planning and disaster recovery. I think, of course, we have a gap there. We have some ground to make up there. Unified communications is where the rest of the industry has either moved to or is moving, and I think we have our maybe first half step in that direction. But this is a capability, this unified communications, that we're going to need here to be efficient. And to be able to facilitate the collaboration that is going to be in demand by our caregivers, by our organization. Enterprise sprint strategy is another one that will have a difference in this organization. We're going through an assessment now. But I've seen a difference that can make. So do these make sense to everybody?
Absolutely. Yep.
Am I missing anything?
Probably.
Which one?
I said probably.
Yeah. Okay. So, for us to be successful, we have to have an engaged team. And so, in some cases, I've been able to grow teams, from a very small group to a very large group. And I can tell you when I look for people, these are the type of things, the attributes I look for. These are the attributes that we'll need to be successful So we need to have folks that are skilled in the technologies that we need to leverage within this institution. That's going to be a moving target too. That's what's great about this, right? Technology never stays the same; it always moves. So we're not going to get bored unless you want to be bored. You might be somewhere else getting bored. Certainly have that option. So having the skill to do this is one component. Being engaged and motivated in your job is another. Right? We want you to be progressive. We want you to be out there and pushing the leading edge. Not the bleeding edge, the leading edge. This is there's a responsibility on all sides to make sure that this happens. Both on employees, engineers, management team. This doesn't come easily, but this is what we have to have to be successful. The other thing that I think is kind of key for us is community leadership. And what I mean by community leadership is, even though this is a small community, I think we're kind of between Charlotte and Atlanta, okay, there's still an opportunity for us, to get together within our community to promote and foster, IT technology in our community, network with the other companies within this community, and help drive, excellence within this community. Just, it's funny, I looked up VMware user group on the internet, and there was some correspondence about getting something started in 2007. So I think what happens here is that we bear a lot of responsibility in this, because who's the biggest game in town besides the school? It's GHS. Okay, I can tell you that I have other companies reaching out now who would like to have, technology forums, technology user groups, operating in this community. Well, I can tell you this: if we aren't out leading those, more than likely, no one's going to. It helps us be better. And so I look to have this type of involvement from our team. Customer satisfaction. We have to be very concerned about what our customers' needs are, and understanding our customers' perspective, and really delivering, a service that will achieve high levels of customer satisfaction. So today, we are a little bit short of the target. And there's a lot of reasons why this is the case. And there's multiple reasons. And there's not one silver bullet that's going to solve this. So we have to hit this on multiple fronts. And I can tell you, there's a team now kind of working together how we're going to try to bridge that gap in this last quarter, see if we can make a push. With idle SLAs coming down the road, this is going to help. Okay, this will help measure ourselves on how we're doing in terms of satisfying the customer for uptime and reliability. But we have to keep that foremost in our mind. Keeping these our systems operational, not taking them down, frequently without lead time, minimizing unplanned outages to the extent possible. Our networks and our servers and our environment, that whole bottom foundation level, should be running average 99.98% uptime, which is the average for a well-run organization. And when we start measuring this, we're going to see that we're, in some cases, not very close to that. And that will be our opportunity to respond. Because customer sat scores, again, there's a lot of reasons, but one of them is because our foundational environment is not operating in good shape. We're not managing it the way it should be. We have to address that. And the last one is, it's really to understand and this business that we're in. And, be aware of what we can do to impact the system, good and bad. So if we have an issue with a system that is creating a patient care, a patient safety issue or a problem, right? Now, the kind of team that I'm hoping we have is the kind that would be hard pressed to walk out at nighttime at the end of the day and leave it, as an issue, an ongoing issue, especially if it can be resolved. Again, our influence on these organizations and on the services that we provide and the quality of care that it provides is going to grow substantially over the next short term and long term. So we have to be ready to take on that responsibility. And I think we're getting there. So, any questions on this? Any questions? Okay. Well, I think the last one was for any questions. So, that's my relatively short deck. So I'm just, my goal today is to get you to have a feel for who I am, my perspective, my concerns. It's all about me, myself, and I. But I also want to hear from you all. How can we improve this? How can we move the needle? I have an open door policy, although it appears that most of the time I'm in a meeting. However, you can find me here. If I'm here, I'm more than happy to discuss anything productive. So, anybody want to throw out a comment or any questions? It's a quiet group. You're all happy to be here?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right.
I noticed you have enterprise print strategy as one of your objectives. Has anything been talked about with an enterprise fax strategy? That's another. When we get into unified communications, this is going to be a service platform. We do have a fax server coming in, but we have no real strategy to implement it. And the users sometimes may not want to give up their hardware.
Yep. Well, we're definitely going to run into that. So, I probably should have put here, which is more appropriate, enterprise print strategies rapidly turn into, multifunctional device strategies. And, it will have a big impact on really our methodology that we have today. So we have an extraordinary amount of printers out there for size, for number of, folks we have here, and for the size of our footprint. And honestly, there's just, we'll see probably a significant improvement once we come to terms on a strategy that we can, push, to the organization that makes sense, and it gets executive support. You'll see some exceptions like anywhere else, but by and large, you'll see a vast reduction. And it'll be our opportunity to, also assess our print strategy from a networking perspective. But I'm expecting big things from that. From the endpoint what we'll have to now will be substantially different.
Are we going to limit the number of vendors and model numbers by chance? Because supporting all these different print drivers is to be a real nightmare.
Yes and no. So yes, you can limit the number of vendors, because usually you will select an enterprise vendor. It's part of the strategy. But in my experience, the drivers has still been a mess.
Well, but what I'm getting at, I've got every HP driver known to man. Now we've got Xerox printers and Ricoh printers and Lexmark. And I mean, give me one set and let me install them.
Yeah, so we'll get there. And I kid, but it'll be easier. I mean, there's still a lot of print drivers from one vendor, but yeah, you only need probably one disk or one website together. It'll be better.
In your experience, how is it best to convince the users that they need to change their mentality on, printing and what enterprise systems they should use?
So you really have to hit it from, both ways. From the executive management side, which is a part of the management team here, and also we have to campaign with the users as well. Now, you don't maybe expect everyone to say, yeah, I'll give up, in case of enterprise print, that I will give up my printer. But the campaign is around the enterprise print strategy makes sense. Consolidating and sharing resources makes sense. People can agree to that. It's hard to not agree with. But then you put a policy through that you get executive management support for. And then you start moving through. And then you have directors, or in some cases VPs, are the only ones who can submit for approval for, or submit for a scanner or a dedicated printer or something like that. But there are ways to get that to work well. Now, if you get to applications, it's really the same thing. It's more or less a campaign. You got a campaign to do things in a logical and a common sense manner, which seems ridiculous. But we can win those. And I've certainly been involved with those battles, and I've seen those go the right way. It's not easy. But that's our mission.
There's kind of a gray area between IS and clinical engineering and the clinical side of things right now. We see it a lot at the sports center because everything sort of filters through us. Has there been any plans in place or any thoughts as far as the stuff that clinical engineering is pushing out to have them go through IS, or to work together to make sure that the systems work together and that when we make changes, excuse me, my voice is cracking, it doesn't affect their things and vice versa?
Can I say something about that? Just so you know,
Sure.
there's a bi-monthly meeting in clinical engineering
Mhm.
that we have now, where we get together and talk about what they have coming up, what they're going to be installing, if there's any issues with it, that kind of thing. there probably needs to be more people from the application side involved in that meeting though. So we do put that in place, Mark did, and we do have that meeting. So, clinical engineering just went under a totally new director too. So there's some changes there. And they're bringing more people in, so just so you know that's happening.
Well, that's good. And so communication and having an open relationship with the clinical engineering is going to be important. They have, needs like we do, right? And they need to have their equipment operate, especially on our networks, utilizing our resources. And believe me, they would like for it to be as smooth as possible, just like we would not want to be troubleshooting their equipment. There's some organizations have actually merged clinical engineering and IT because there was enough commonality there to make that happen. I don't know that this organization has really ever seriously considered that, and I'm not looking to push that by any means. But I could see where we got to the point where clinical engineering was integrated with our service now. So when they went to put new equipment onto the network, or they're doing installs, or they had break fix, that it was all logged in into our system.
Some of their things come to us now, but not everything.
They certainly
It's-
don't participate in our change management process.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have like a lot of times you have vendors that we don't even know about, but anybody that would come in and kind of do a proof of concept with our network and everything, and then filter it through ServiceNow through a build test scenario, utilizing that, and then having a way to say, all right, this is going to work, and then implement that, and then using their support, kind of like we do with Vocera, this project, and training the service desk and training of the engineers, basically seeing what the environment so we can better support the the environment. And that's one thing is sometimes it seems like it's kind of a last minute thing when we got this here, and you're like, where did this come from type thing.
Right.
So that's the thing that would be very nice to do is do ServiceNow.
Yeah, so it cuts both ways. I mean, they forget to get these type of requests to us. It holds up their project because we have justifiably other priorities, right? Arguably, when you get into an idle framework and you work within that framework, things will go smoother. We want to prove that to ourselves first, right? Have some measurable improvements that we can talk about with the rest of the organization, but it's also including clinical engineering. And then I think we can convince them to participate in that process. And I think once they are doing it, they'll see the value, and it'll be smoother sailing, right, at that point. But that's perhaps one area that we can address. But the fact is that clinical engineering is utilizing our wireless networks, right, with bedside devices. They got some level of RFID going, right. So we have to have a sense of what they're doing, or what their capital requests are for the next year, and things of that nature. So that's a great observation. Great question.
Yeah.
What else? What's the one thing we can do to improve?
Communicate between departments.
Teamwork.
We're all in with one team, not multiple little segments.
So Tim is saying, think as IS Information Services is one team. And I think that's going to be key. Do we have a challenge in doing that? I'll tell you, most other teams that I've worked with have had a challenge. And so I can tell you this. Rich Rogers has certain expectations of both the clinical team, application team, and technical services team. And from his very simple perspective, the farther we reach into the department, the more successful we are. The more we understand their workflow, the more we understand the information and how they're using that information. And the problems it causes not having that information is key to our success. We then become a true asset, meaningful to that department. Clinical, enterprise, what have you. As you push the analysts farther out into the department, right, this gap, we've talked about this with some folks, this gap appears between what they can do and what we do. Okay? And historically, it's been my experience that technical services sucks up that gap. Okay, so if there's a gap here, someone has to step out to make sure that nothing falls through the cracks. In general, it's been this team that does it. On the other hand, if you ever, I think there's value to rounding with an analyst, because in most cases, I think, technical services professionals who've done that, for one, can really appreciate what they do, what they have to go through. The other one is they never want to walk in their shoes. They'd rather do their own job. Okay, but the key is we need to work together. We need to cover that continuum, right? And that's going to cause us to stretch a little bit every now and again. Especially the networking guys. Because when something doesn't work, it's always the network. You can't see that packet, it must be the packet's not going down the wire. You just have to really accept that challenge. Okay? Resolve
Never heard that before, have you?
What else?
Do you know where the nursing station is?
Okay.
Developing some processes and standards.
In reference to, I'm glad you brought that up.
Hold on a
One
second.
of the things that we have on our list to do is, do we have a sheet that pretty much says what's our standards? So for instance, let's say networking, right? What standards do we support in networking? Gig speed, wireless, one authentication, one encryption, right? We really should have a sheet that says our standards, right?
We do.
And also identifies backwards compatibility and things that we need to do forward.
We developed that in the fall of 2012. So we've got that well documented.
Great. Do we have it for operating systems?
Yes.
So everything within technical services, do we think we have?
Databases, SAN, network, desktop, cabling, wireless. We did that. I'll share that with you. It's on SharePoint, and the team has had that available.
Perfect. So have we shared that with clinical engineering?
I haven't seen it, so I don't know if clinical I don't know.
Right. So, I mean, that's something that, once we have it documented, we are committed to maintaining a level of service. We share that with people who are trying to leverage that service. But, this is just kind of scratching the surface of, standards and standards that we want to develop. I really think more around, you mentioned that, around how we're going to deliver and prioritize applications going into the day. How we're going to evaluate them, how we're going to improve them, how we're going to prioritize them, and then SLAs about how we deliver those. That's all coming. Those are great opportunities for us. Okay, so I'll say again that my door's open. If you ever have a question, you ever have a great idea, believe me, the good ideas are going to come from this side here, not from me. Happy to discuss them. Ideation is my strong point. And with that, I'll close this up, and thank you for coming.
Thank you.